This is the Limestone Lowdown. Hear the sound when you lie through the issues all around. From every corner, let's make it clear. The change we need is starting here.
Hi everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Limestone Lowdown. Today we're going to talk about the recent announcement of Nehemiah Ezekiel, political alias John Wahl's announcement to run for lieutenant governor.
Yeah, so about, over a year ago, we had heard the rumors that he was going to run for lieutenant governor.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, there's absolutely no way. He has no qualifications at all. He has no formal education. I don't really know what qualifies him to think that. I was like, surely to goodness not. And then we were hearing from several people in the confirmations that he was going to run. And then it came out, last summer in 2025, that there were several articles that came out about his
Potential.
legal name.
Yes.
And got confirmation that his legal name was Nehemiah Ezekiel Wahl, and that he was linked to a driver's license that was issued in 2022, I believe, in, was it Lauderdale, Tennessee?
Lawrence.
And he had gotten a speeding ticket in 2023 and presented a Tennessee state driver's license, was registered to vote in the state of Tennessee. And so we're like, okay, all of this has come out about this legal stuff. There is no way that he's going to run for lieutenant governor.
That he could or should be able to, that anybody would back him.
Yes.
And this is just crazy because, how many people, other than just seeing like him on TV or like a quick little snippet, how many people have like really seen him talk? Because maybe it's just us, but we're just not drinking the Kool-Aid. He's just not a very impressive man. And I don't understand how people are like, he's so great. He may be great at fundraising, but there's a big difference between being a leader of like a political party and fundraising and actually going out and governing and getting stuff done.
Well, and then you get to January of 2026, and the last day of the day before the election, President Trump puts out a thing that he's encouraging John Wahl to run, #RunJohnRun, and we're like, oh my gosh, here it is. He's going to announce, and sure enough, at 5 o'clock, at the time of the deadline, he announced that he was going to run for lieutenant governor.
And we can only hope that, that Trump doesn't really know who Nehemiah Ezekiel, political alias John Wahl is, because my goodness.
Well, it's very concerning, and I mean,
yes.
At a national level, some of the recent things with the Trump administration have been very questionable and very concerning. And it's like, if we're
add this to the list,
right? If we're willing to cover this up at a local level, it makes you question a lot of the decisions that are going on at a national level too. So, over the last year.
But don't take that as we're still hardcore conservatives. Don't take that as we're Democrats or something like that, because we've been accused of that for merely asking questions.
I can literally identify as a Republican and not agree with everything that you say.
No, I'm just saying.
I think
just put that caveat out there.
I think that has been also really offensive.
It has.
Because this was never about a political party. This was about
right and wrong. Exactly.
And when you try to elevate problems,
I believe we were told to be good little Republicans. Sit back down and be good little Republicans.
That we're trying to win the primaries, and I'm like, I don't really care about if this is what the Republicans stand for. Then I don't want to be a Republican, and I'm not a Democrat. So there's, so I started. It was just one of those things where you get, it's a hard place to be in, because it's like, how do you even report this? Again, about a year ago, we had all of this information for the episode that we're about to play for you, and John Wahl since 2012 and casting votes as John Wahl. That's the issue that I have. And then his political alias running as for the second highest job in the state of Alabama under his political alias name, and his campaign is set up as Nehemiah Wahl. Like, it makes zero sense. It's almost like they're trying to cover their tracks. And then just a real quick snippet, you've got Tommy Tuberville, who could be battling his own residency issues, and if he wins and then that has to go to court, what if that were to get thrown out? I mean, John Wahl could easily, if he won, slide into the governorship. So that's a whole different thing. But as we talk about this, and then Jared's going to talk about the steering committee vote.
So the steering committee vote was a 9-9 vote, with Miss Joan Reynolds casting the deciding vote that this shouldn't get elevated. But we need to look at that 1 second, because there's 3 people that voted that it should not move forward that have conflicts of interest. 2 of them were just the normal, they're working on campaigns and should have recused themselves.
And had a consulting firm.
And have their own consulting firms. But the biggest is Representative Ben Harrison from the same area up here, that on his statement of economic interest claims that he works for the Wahl family.
And it's widely known.
And it's widely known. This is not, anybody can look this up. Also, there's the fact that he used the Wall's consulting firm, WTNS Consulting, and has given them thousands of dollars.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
In consulting. And this man should not have even been in the room. Quite frankly, like, he had no business. So that means that there wouldn't have been a tie. Miss Reynolds wouldn't have had to vote, and this would have at least got elevated, and more questions could been asked.
There's no way to even report this, because again,
who you report it to?
Right, and it's very telling. I mean, Tommy Tuberville's residency was a unanimous that he is an Alabama resident, but your own GOP that you were just the chairman over voted a split vote 9-9, and you had a very blatant 1, but potentially 3 that should have abstained. And again, this is hard, guys. Like, we're from here, we live in this area, and we've got the documented proof, but it is so hard to continue to put ourselves out there because people act like that we're attacking everybody. We're not. It's when we see it, we're like, we need to talk about it. And
exactly.
Other people have reached out to us and was like, oh, this has been going on for years, and they know about it. But anyways, we will put the episode that we recorded a year ago, so you guys can take a listen. So,
hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Limestone Lowdown. So we're kind of going to do a special topic today, and something we hadn't talked about really before. So, Amanda, you want to start us off?
Sure. So we've kind of been debating on if we wanted to cover this topic. A lot of the stuff that we've been talking about within the city has been stuff with the mayor and the city council, and those are nonpartisan positions, and we don't want to get into politics as far as like big politics, but we do feel like that this is relevant to stuff that's going on within Limestone County. One of the conversations that we have had with somebody is that all your county positions honestly should probably be nonpartisan, because it really shouldn't matter which party you represent, but here and there,
like county commission,
your county commission, because it doesn't matter what your political views being, more liberal, more conservative, that doesn't affect the laws and the ordinances within your county. And so, anyways.
I mean, we could even go back a little history lesson and say George Washington himself didn't want political parties because he didn't want people voting for the party. He wanted people knowing what the people stood for, right, and not just, I'm going to vote for them because they got an R or D beside their name.
Right, and so, we know, how, especially like here in the state of Alabama, we are a heavy conservative Republican state, and so I think that's especially with the county commissioners, it's an overwhelming large win that if you win, you're Republican
Yeah,
primary.
if you win the Republican
Right,
primary,
'cause
you're going to be the...
It's been over 20 years since we've had a Democrat county commissioner. So again, we didn't want to go political as far as like large politic groups, because we do think, I do agree with the person that mentioned it, that all city and county positions should be nonpartisan, because this is about what's best for our county and city, and not at a state level. But so we kind of, how this all got started back in the summer was when we were invited to attend the Limestone County Republican Executive Committee, and we will call that LECREC throughout this episode. So we were...
Oh, come on. Don't you want to say it several more times?
Yeah, no. So we were invited to come to a LECREC meeting back in August. And
sounds like you're speaking German or something. Or electric.
Well, I don't say LECREC like you
I'm
intend
just saying.
to.
I'm just saying. It just sounds funny. But anyway.
I say
go ahead.
So we were invited to come in August. And again, this is when we first started attending city council meetings. People started recognizing us, being out in the public, just from, calling people out at city council. And we started recognizing some people too. And I'll be honest, y'all, Jared was part of another executive committee in Lawrence County, 20 years ago-ish or something. And so he knew what they should be like. I've never been involved in anything like this. I don't know anything about it. And I just went, and honestly, it was a joke. It was a waste of my time, honestly.
People were yelling at each other, and it's very confrontational and everything else. And I'm like, my God, I've never in my life. Usually you go, you eat, you have the little, what's the first part called? Meet and greet.
The social hour.
Social hour, whatever. Then you have a speaker, and then you conduct normally monthly business, and you can usually do it all within an hour and a half at the most. But these meetings were going 2+ hours, and nothing was getting done.
No.
And just really the biggest thing was the hostility.
Yeah.
And then again, we didn't know to start with, but it's like the different factions within the group were all at each other's throats.
Yeah. There was and I know the people that are listening that are from Limestone County, and this is a term that we hear all the time from people, whether it be on the What's Happening in Athens page, the Concerned Citizens page, the Limestone County page. It's common knowledge, the Good Old Boy Network, or the Good Old Boy System. That is what people call it all the time. And Limestone County and Athens City are the number one growing county and city in the state for the last several years in a row. And you have a lot of new people. And you've got people that are coming and this is their home. They're getting involved in the community, and the Good Old Boy System, they don't really like the new people coming in at all, and questioning their policies, their bylaws, lack thereof.
I was going to say whether they're doing something correctly or not.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it should be very simple. Everything generally follows Robert's Rule of Orders, and if you don't, you're kind of out of line, and generally everybody does that. I would say 95% of anybody that has a meeting follows those, because it is so simple and straightforward and easy to keep up with, and generally everybody knows, what that means and everything else. But when you're operating outside of that, and then somebody calls you out about, was it really even calling them out or calling them to accountability, just holding them to accountability or something, you aren't following your own bylaws.
Right.
And again,
it's
we're not saying you're doing anything shady, but when you don't follow stuff, it has the appearance of that. And you can easily, that's a very slippery slope.
And then they get very argumentative when they don't ask for basic stuff. So anyways, we'll just kind of go back and we'll kind of just go over our first meeting. So I guess, I don't even want to call him a guest speaker, because he didn't get up and talk. He commanded the room for what
people were supposed to know who he was. We didn't have a clue.
So John Wahl is our Alabama GOP chairman, and he has been for a few years now. He is also over the Alabama Steering Committee and the Southern region. He's over that too. And then next in line, like our chairman for this group is Noah Wahl, his brother. And we just kind of start asking, because they're very different, and we just weren't really getting the whole him being in this position. And on top of that, this is a paid position. Like, he's getting paid $100,000.
What it is now.
Right.
It wasn't. It was a volunteer position, and there was never any competition, and then lo and behold, now he's getting paid. And I think the word you're looking for is gravitas. He just don't strike you as somebody with very much gravitas. Somebody that, he seems kind of frumpy almost. I mean, yes, he's wearing a suit, but just not somebody that's very well, I don't, polished maybe. And you just don't, like I said, gravitas. He just doesn't have that.
Well,
so
I was
it's kind of weird.
Kind of looking around like, is he serious?
Yeah, is this man really, is this who they're talking about? That's supposed to be, you hate to use the word non-impressive, but he's just not a very impressive individual.
Well, one of the things that got me was, we are in the 21st century, and he was heavy on mailers. Mailers. And we're like, why would you waste like $15,000 on mailers? Like, because, okay, so this is in August, the election's coming up, and they're talking about like campaigning in the county and sending out mailers. It's like, okay, why wouldn't you do like a Facebook ad or do something
strategically use your money,
right? And so the LECREC had a Trump store. They made a ton of money on it, and there was money in the bank. We did have some county commissioners that were up for election in November 2024. At this particular meeting, they had already given them money previously that we weren't there for, but we had heard that they had given them money. And at this particular meeting, they gave them an additional $5,000. One of the county commissioners was almost like he didn't want to take it because
correct. That's how I came across.
The Democrat basically said, I'm not running, and didn't campaign or anything. So he didn't really need the funds. The other one did. She had an independent person. She ended up getting beat, but nonetheless, she was like almost hungry to wanting to accept the money. And I get it, but like if the other one didn't want it, it's not like if you gave her one, you had to give to the other.
And let's just be honest. I mean, was she a nice enough person? Yes, she was. Did she have any chance in hell of winning? No, she did not. So to us, it seemed almost like wasted money. It's like, why are you giving money to this person because they have no chance of winning? It seems like you could better either save it or better spend that money somewhere else. I mean, and we got that impression within the first, 3 minutes of meeting her.
Or if they were so hardcore in support of her, why wouldn't they get a team together to go out and campaign with her?
Well, I believe somebody on our team
tried
to help her.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, why did LECREC not put a team of people together to go out and help support her? They had an independent person on the ticket who used to be part of the Republican Executive Committee. And there's been several stories, and we don't know what is true. There's, their side, his side, and then there's the truth.
Yep.
And so it's not even worth going in and talking about what happened. Just he was kicked out of the Republican Party, and he's been running as an independent, and he been a county commissioner. I mean, like I said, he had to win as an independent, and he won by like 1,000 votes. But if they were, so determined to have her in, like, why did the Republican Party not do enough? They just wanted her money. They wanted to give her money. So this is where we go into, we start asking some questions. So,
what questions would those be?
Well, it's one of those things. Why are so many elected officials on this committee and they're using up a slot at your precincts when you have people that want to join, and your elected officials could be ex-officio members? They just wouldn't be a voting member.
Is that word control? Maybe?
So,
I don't know.
Per the bylaws, they have an option to be members or ex-officio members. They can be both, one or the other. But they choose to not use the ex-officiant route.
Choose, or were these folks recruited?
No, I'm talking about the chairman made the choice, so he chose to make them voting members versus not.
I got you, but I'm also saying that we've heard that these folks were recruited to be on the executive committee.
I can attest to that.
Because it's not, you don't have to be on it to run as a Republican. You can run without their endorsement. Now, does their endorsement help? Yes. But when they're out recruiting certain individuals and then saying, don't vote for these other individuals, like, because they're not part of our group in parentheses, it's kind of like,
Well, like the sheriff specifically, the very first meeting that we went to, he was voted in, and one of the things that he said in his speech was, they have been trying to get me to join for a couple years now.
There it is. That's where I was going with that.
And it just didn't fit mine and my family's schedule. Now our oldest is 16. He can help chauffeur kids around. And he got voted in 2022. And so he said, for a couple years, you've been trying to get me to join. They heavily endorsed him. And so he finally joined the committee. Our county clerk, same thing with her. Now, I don't know how this worked out, but someone said that when she wanted to join, there wasn't any available slots at her precinct. And so they took a slot from a different one and moved it to hers. And you also can't do that. Again, this was before we attended, but that's just what we've heard. And so, I don't know. They're just leaves into a lot of questions. And so the very first meeting, we saw this hostility. Again, they wanted to vote on paying the treasurer who was running the store. They wanted to vote to pay her for her time at the Trump store. That led into a lot of questions. It's like, we can't pay her for a service, because then you start getting into tax questions, to not having to give her a 1099. Honestly, I couldn't remember if it had passed or not, but other people, because this was literally my first time, I was like, what is all this that's going on? There was so much arguing. And then they passed to give $5,000 to each of the county commissioners.
Correct.
And then they were arguing about the mailers. And honestly, it was like a 2-hour long meeting. And I was like, what the crap is going on? This is 2 hours of my life I can never get back. And then John Wahl, our Alabama GOP chairman, he spoke in support of all these mailers, and I don't know, it just wasn't making any sense to us.
And especially as somebody, granted I am not an expert, but I have worked on several political campaigns, and I do have a college degree in political science, so I know just a little bit. And mailers are not, nobody cares anymore. That's like old news. Like, there's so much better ways to do that.
Like the only thing you're checking mail for is your Amazon boxes.
Exactly. Nobody, you look at it for 2 seconds and throw it away. It's not something that's going to sway anything. And the money is just so much better spent on, like you said, Facebook ads.
And they're cheaper.
And it is cheaper, too.
It's a lot cheaper. You can get voter data. Your voter information is free. And then
target specific areas,
and you can do Facebook ads. I mean, you could probably, for what mailers cost, you could probably do $1,000 of electronic campaigning and reach more people than those mailers would have. And that was another thing too, is that the Democrats, they were running a what's it called?
Billboard,
a electronic billboard right above the Trump store, which I thought was hilarious. And they didn't care, and we're like, why are they strategically spending their money, and they are spending their money wisely? I mean, so they were doing all of this strategic spending. And when you ask questions and ask people, like, why are they not doing this? And they're like, yeah, we don't know. They should. And some people
because let's keep in mind, not only is this is on a main drag, 72.
Highway 72,
it's right off the interstate. So you're talking about the visibility on this sign that's right in front. Even if they had an arrow pointing down to the Trump store, you're talking about major visibility.
Well, at one of the meetings, they said that they had seen people from like all 50 states, but like 2 or 3 or something. So it's, they had a lot of business, a lot of traffic, and not even to say that they would have to use that billboard location, but the fact that just the strategic of this spending, the amount of money that was coming in on this Trump store every month versus what they were choosing to spend the money on. And again, it was the mailers. We ended up getting a mailer, and we're like, why? We didn't even know. I don't remember it being passed that they could do the mailers. Because it was like
they didn't pass doing the mailers. Dawn got to choose how she wanted to spend the money.
No, for Trump, they sent out mailers.
They said they were going to do it. I don't think you're right. I don't think they voted on it per se. I'm just saying.
Right. So then.
Well, I'm saying Dawn heavily sent out mailers too.
Right.
Because we got 3 or 4 of them in the mail.
Yeah, we got from LaDon too. We got one for him too. Yeah. So the more we were going, like, we went to this first meeting, and we've went every one since. And I talked to some people on there, and I'm like, what's the deal with this? Like, I feel like we need, this group should be, like, what's the goal of it?
More cohesive.
Yeah. What are you trying to accomplish? I mean, I'm busy. We all are busy. I don't want to give this time, my life, to this each month if we're not going to produce something.
Let's talk about the little what happened. I believe before we go into the next one, I believe you got nominated to be a part of it, and then lo and behold, they said, we don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and there was 2 people that made a phone call and was like, Amanda was nominated last month, like, why is she not on here? And because there was a slot open at our precinct, supposedly there was this guy that had missed for medical reasons for like 7 months, and you can only miss like 2 in a row and you lose your slot. And so at the time, I just didn't really want to deal with the drama because I didn't want it to be me versus him. But it was a big issue that several people were like, no, she got nominated. And I did. I mean, I did get nominated. And yeah, that just kind of fell by the wayside. Well,
it was the fact they said that you were not nominated, and then it turned into you had withdrawn your name. I think that's what started turning our wheels. Like, wait a minute, like. Yeah, it went from, we didn't hear you, even though the lady supposedly records all the meeting and multiple people listened to it and didn't hear it, which is crazy. But then it went into, no, she... Formally, and that's not what happened whatsoever, because I was right there with you when the conversation happened and they were asking you about it, and you're like, it's not a big deal or whatever, with the assumption that you would just turn right around and get nominated again.
Yeah.
But it was almost like it was very strategic. They were worried that you would have beat that guy. Yeah. And he's part of the in crowd, and you're part of the out crowd. So it was now looking back at it. I don't think we're part of the
out crowd. I think that we've got friends on both sides.
Well, yes, absolutely. But I'm saying...
Well, I think they see that we see the game that's being played.
Well, there's that.
And so one of the things they talked about doing was like a fundraiser. They talked about doing a Reagan dinner, and like that, nobody ever did that. Nothing ever went with it. Again, it's like you have an opportunity to make such a difference in your community, to get, your candidates out there, and like, it's just nothing. It's just, I don't know. Anyways, so as we're diving in, we go to several meetings, we start finding out that the Wahls, which, remember, our chairman is Noah Wahl and his brother is John Wahl, and he's the Alabama GOP chairman, that they've got some family businesses.
Ooh.
And one of them is like a consulting firm. And we're like, how is that allowed that you can have a consulting firm and then you are over our GOP, and then your family is essentially over the local one? So then we started looking up our candidates, because again, I told y'all, we have a heavy amount of local politicians in this committee, and we started looking up, and every single one, they pay this consulting firm to do their campaigning.
Whoa.
And I'm not talking about just like a little bit of money. I'm talking like
thousands of dollars.
Thousands and thousands of dollars.
So you can't help but think, is this pay to play?
That's what it looks like.
Because every elected official besides the independent, who they said don't vote for, and one other candidate that was he part of the committee at that time? The county commissioner?
Who? Derek Gatlin?
Correct. Was he part of it when they said don't vote for him?
I can't remember. I think he was. I think he already was.
Because the funny thing
was,
because
Elizabeth is only been on it for 2 years.
He self-funded his campaign and did not use them, and word got out that they were telling people don't vote for him.
He was already a Republican. He was already won the county commission, and he was trying to join. And yes, the chairman was making phone calls to people and was like, you need to vote no against him. Like, we don't think he's,
good enough for vote.
Yes. And it was like, what?
So if we're not using your firm, then we're not good enough, which caused us to, research all this. And it's almost like it made more sense about, the other commissioner. Like, they didn't care at the end of the day, didn't care if she won or lost, because they gave her electric money, and then she turned around and gave it right back to them.
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, they were going to win either way.
Both county commissions
they did not care if she really won or not, because they were going to appropriate the money and then get it right back.
And then there's, and then you look at the state level, and, he is over the GOP. And so if there's any sort of campaigning or whatever, they can just use his consulting firm. And then, with us, with Jared and I, when we started diving into all this stuff with the city council, we kind of had our things that we would look up into, and we're like, oh my gosh, there is no state business license. I'll give Chris Cyber, at least he was doing proper business on the state. But then it's like, if there's nothing on the state, then like, where's your federal taxes that you're supposed to be? So,
now, is this is a funny little sideway here that we've heard the reason this family ended up here to start with is because they had tax problems from where they came from to start with. So this is not even new.
Right. And then like they're this religion called Anabaptist, and it's almost like they believe in like the sovereign, that they're like the chosen, that they're like above the law.
Correct.
And so
a lot of questions.
Yeah. And so if you're now, city business licenses, like we talked about, like they're not expensive to get.
No.
Now, you are supposed to still pay taxes on the revenue that you bring into the city. And it, so basically you'll pay the state your taxes, and then the state pays the city back, sends it back. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So like with Chris Cyber, he was paying we didn't even know if he was claiming the right amount, but at least he was paying something to the state.
Correct.
On this, it's like you don't,
like they don't exist.
Yeah,
like this business doesn't exist. And obviously where it's located, it's not in the Athens city limits, so they wouldn't have to have a city business license.
Right, they're in the
but
county.
They are in the state of Alabama, so they would have to have one.
And then that brings into, if like the GOP is paying WTNS consulting for campaign funds.
Are they?
Well, yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So
wow. Did you guys hear that?
So then that just brings into that PAC money is going to a business that doesn't exist and not properly paying business. I mean, that's literally like
That
tax evasion.
John Wall's in charge of.
Yes, and he's over both of them. I mean, on his statement of economic interest form, he claims that he works for WT&S Consulting. He claims that he makes between $50,000 and $150,000 a year. And there was also an article that was released that said that he was going to step down from the consulting firm and his family was going to take it over because of the conflict of interest that position would have. So not only did he lie about that, because he's still claiming it on his statement of economic interest, but if you go to their website, the email address is the email address that is listed on the Alabama RNC website to contact him. And I can only assume that the cell phone number the phone number that it's a link to is his cell phone too. I could be wrong on that, but I do know that the email that's on the contact matches up with what is listed on the RNC for his contact information.
So basically just a lot of questions. Lots of questions. And then again, we're not saying that anything's illegal per se. It's just very shady looking. It's very a lot of smoke. And I just have to say, if I was in that position, I wouldn't want anything to do with that, just from the appearance of it alone, of any kind of, malfeasance going on.
Well, and then too, it's like this isn't like we're just talking about it and nobody's questioned them. People have asked questions multiple times, and they make the other people look crazy for asking questions. They will not answer questions, so it just makes it look more questionable what they're doing.
Questions lead to questions,
right.
Lead to questions. But oh my goodness, look at the time. It looks like this is going to be a two-parter as well. So until next time, guys, we appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Limestone Lowdown, where we break down the issues, keep you informed, and give you facts straight from the source. Remember, your voice matters. Your vote counts, and your community thrives when we stay engaged. Stay tuned, stay informed, and stay involved. Until next time, keep questioning, keep advocating, and keep shaping the future of the Limestone area. We'll see you on the next Limestone Lowdown.